Last week, on this very session where I'm doing front squat, I had an exchange in the comments where someone was putting out some advice on how he thought I would be able to improve my squat form. So he was saying that I should be using straps to get a better grip on the bar, which would allow me to get a straighter, more vertical back while descending, and also move my feet slightly outwards on the plate so that I could grab the floor a bit better. And lastly, it was more of a cue, and that was to send the bar into the ceiling. And I believe that he was saying that because he noticed that maybe there was a lack of intent, that I was maybe struggling with the weight, and he thought that this cue would be helpful, I guess. All of this is good advice in general, and I will use in general as the key word in here. I liked especially the cue of sending the bar into the ceiling. It gave words to an idea that I had that I am experiencing, especially when I'm ramping up to the working sets. With these 70 kilos, as I am trying to get as close to failure as possible without putting myself at risk, I noticed that it is a bit harder for me to get explosive upwards motion where the weight is more challenging. But I definitely feel like up to 60 kilos or so, I am able to oblige to this cue very well. And even when the weight is heavier and I cannot really bring it up as quickly as I would like, I have that at the back of my mind. It was just an intuitive thing, and he put it in words very nicely, I think. The foot positioning on those little plates is sometimes a bit tricky. I feel like if I am putting my heels too far onto the plates, then the edge of those starts giving me a bit of an annoyance in the midfoot. And so it is a good idea to push them slightly forward, but also not too much, because then there is a bit too much pressure from that edge onto the heel. And so it is a fine tuning that needs to happen, but I haven't really noticed many benefits from a certain position other than being comfortable and being able to focus on what really matters, which is coming down and going back up. And then when it comes to the advice of strapping myself onto the bar, I wasn't really sure about that from the get-go, because I know my anthropometry and I know that my forearm is just too long in respects to my upper arm to be in a position where I can hold the bar while simultaneously have my upper arm parallel to the floor. And this is just in the unracking position, let alone when I start going down. And again, my anthropometry doesn't really come to the rescue because I have longer thighs relative to my torso, and also the shin length comes into play at this point. So there is never going to be a point where I'm able to lower with a vertical back and horizontal upper arms which are at a 90-degree angle with my torso. It's not going to happen. And I haven't really noticed this being something that detracts from the way that I can perform the movement. But I did give it a go. I tested it out. I strapped myself onto the bar. And while the feeling is nice, rewatching the footage doesn't really give me a glaring sensation that, oh yeah, this is so much better, how did I not think about this sooner? And I'm sure that this guy had the best intentions in giving me this advice. But I also think that that was probably the first time that he saw me squatting, and his idea of what a squat should look like didn't really align with what he saw there, and therefore he thought about giving advice, hoping to do good. I'm sure about that. And the reason why I talk about this is because maybe there is going to be at some point someone who stumbles upon this video and they are in a similar situation where they are given advice that doesn't really align with the way that their body is built. And they might intuitively know about that, but they're not sure because they've been given advice, so the person who is giving the advice must know what they're talking about. The problem is that unless you are in that body, you do not really know. And this is for maybe someone who has not spent enough time trying to refine their squat form, and I do not feel like I have come to any point where I am impressive in any regards when it concerns the squat, but I have spent a very long time thinking about what I could improve. Is it dorsiflexion? Is it the hip flexion? How can I stand tall in a squat when my torso is not as long compared to my legs? And not only did I think about this extensively, I also got in there and I tried different stance widths. I tried different toe angles. I tried going a bit lower bar. I tried staying as upright as I could. I tried sending my chin slightly tucked back. I tried all these things, and what I ended up with is the form that I am performing right now. I am using heel elevation because at some point I decided that it wasn't worth pursuing incredible feats of flexibility and mobility especially, which were not really congenial to the way that I was built and on which I would have to invest an ungodly amount of time. And while at the beginning, where I still had this ideal squat form that I should aspire to, I was really getting into all of the nitty-gritty of trying to increase dorsiflexion and joint dislocation and all of that. As experience settled in, I just accepted the fact that this is the way that I am built, and I quite like the way that my squat has increased over time, and for sure it's going to get better and better as time goes by, as I hopefully add weights to that are going to push me more into these positions, and my system is going to get used to that and I will improve. So if anyone else's squat looks like mine, even remotely, and they're trying to get better at it over time by increasing the weight and using progressive overload while staying injury free, they're doing enough and they're doing good. Keep going. Ciao.